there are countries around the world that can benefit from links with Britain, and this often seems to be the pattern, that we have this idea, it's almost like a sort of charitable project, you know, that was sort of enables Britain to give hospital equipment and set up schools and things like that. But isn't it sometimes the case that certain towns, for example in Britain or Europe, may actually benefit or gain greater kudos or fame by being twinned with a town from another part of the world?
There is always that, because as I mentioned, there is a colonial legacy that you can't forget, which affects all types of relationships, you know, especially to do with twinning and the conceptions people have about what it means. But I think the nation that has the greater power in the balance of power in the world will always have a greater advantage, if you like, potentially, which is why I think the onus is greater if you are starting an initiative here in Britain and, say, making a link with somewhere in West Africa, say a poorer country in West Africa, that you are very, very culturally sensitive to what message you're actually trying to portray. Because I think the impact on the community, say in a West African town, would be something very hard to evaluate looking at it from this side. But if you're culturally sensitive, I think you could have a much more massive impact, because people in Africa, for example, see England and London as somewhere almost like mythical and fantastical. That's just the reality, whether you like it or not. And if they can have a sensitive, culturally sensitive approach from somewhere like London or anywhere in England, then that has a massively positive impact, rather than a patronizing impact like the charitable aspect that we all are fearful of. So, you know, I think it works both ways, and it is to just do with being culturally sensitive and not worrying so much about...
Can a town, for example, for example, Timbuktu, as we're about to see in a clip, Timbuktu actually has a much greater history than Hay-on-Wye in Wales. So actually, who's benefiting? Because Hay-on-Wye might be able to, you know, spend some money on Timbuktu, but Timbuktu is actually giving Hay-on-Wye much greater credibility and fame and standing.
But is it? In whose eyes is it giving it greater credibility? How many people in Hay-on-Wye know anything about Timbuktu? Does Timbuktu even seem like a real place, you know, to people in Hay-on-Wye? And so it's good that the link is being made, because they'll see, oh my gosh, they have a mayor too, you know, it's a real place, etc. But from the point of view of the people in Timbuktu, it's an opportunity for them to actually show we have a fantastical history. You know, you may not have read the history books, and I don't think most ordinary people, English people do read history books and venerate Timbuktu in the way that, say, someone as educated as you might do. Seriously, that's just a reality. So it's an opportunity for the people in Timbuktu to sort of say, look, you know, we had running water, you know, centrally heated pools, and writing and painting, whilst you guys still had your faces painted blue and lived in huts. And that's just that's such a lovely way of bridging gaps and showing, look, we have a very similar common history. Things are a little bit unbalanced now, but there are reasons for it. And then it's an opportunity to educate. That's the key thing, educate.
Raouf, do you find that with the work that you do, that actually, although Britain does have a large Pakistani population, a lot of people don't actually know that much about Pakistani culture? And as well as sort of, I mean, there's a lot of talk about Pakistanis needing to integrate into British culture, but have you found with your twinning that there's actually a process going in reverse, where white English children are actually able to learn more about Pakistani culture and religion as well?
It is a two-way process. And people need to accept that it's a two-way process. So, for example, we have what's known as a white flight syndrome here in northwest England, whereby traditionally the Pakistani communities were clustered because they had barriers of language, of educational abilities, confidence to be able to come out of their communities and go into more professional work, and as a result move into new areas within Pendle, which are your white middle-class areas. But what's started to happen is that as the Pakistani community are starting to move into different areas of Pendle, the local English population tends to move out to another area, and it's known as white flight. And what are the reasons for white flight? So there are reasons from both sides of the community to need to understand each other, to not have a fear of the unknown. And any a philosophy that we have, that any initiative of twinning needs to have some long-term initiatives, plans in mind. It is a long-term process, and rather than just having people sharing the same space for a short amount of time and actually meeting each other, greeting each other, having some kind of conversation, some kind of dialogue, or some kind of social interaction, it needs to build beyond that, where people are put into a position to face their prejudices and actually to build a level of trust and relationships with each other, where they can start to challenge these prejudices and realize that, what are the bases of these prejudices that we hold, and how will they contribute to the level of division, social division that exists in our communities. As they can overcome that, we start to find cohesion and harmony, starting to good examples that can be publicised and promoted for other people to look at.
I mean, you're also building links between churches and mosques.
Yes.
So again, are you able to counteract some of the stereotypes about Islam, and vice versa among Muslims to counteract some of maybe the stereotypes about Christianity or Christians? I mean, are you able to promote the sort of interfaith dialogue?
Yes, I mean, what we've found is that most people have been willing to engage in these kind of initiatives. They just either don't have the ability or the expertise or the resources themselves to organise or facilitate these kind of initiatives. Right. So in Pendle, we've twinned 2 churches and 2 mosques together, and the faith leaders of each place of worship have made a commitment to host events at their place of worship for the other faith community. Mm-hmm. And through that learning process of cultural and religious sensitivities, bringing in a new congregation into your church or into your mosque, and how do people react to this new event in their place of worship. And most people have reacted very positively in that. Yes, I've sat down with a Muslim, I sat down with a Christian, and we've shared what we have in common. We've discussed how we're very different, but we're civilized human beings. We can respect differences and accept differences, and look at the bigger picture as to what unites us as people of faith, and then again use that as a positive example for the wider community.
Yeah. That's great, Ralph. Thank you very much for your contribution and expressing also your personal experience of being involved in this as well. Thank you. Miriam, I mean, one of the issues with, again, building links, something very important that people might not think about is how you can approach to people from different cultures, how they can approach each other or from different religions and maintain respect. I mean, has that been an issue? Because we are all human beings, but there are sort of certain ways in which, certain customs that people have about showing respect to each other in approaching each other. Have you found this with Janine?
Well, I think if you just look at London first, I don't want to see it through rose-coloured glasses, but I think it probably is very different from Pendle. Everyone who lives in London and has not taken the white flight route, more or less we enjoy, and not to be multicultural would be such a loss now. Yeah. Everyone is used to it, everyone. And I think respecting difference is something that some of us have lived with for a generation now and are really happy with it and easy with it. And those people who aren't, they either keep quiet or they have moved out quite a lot. I think he's right, people do move for the wrong reasons. But yes, from Janine, the cultural differences, it's a difficult question for me. I didn't feel differences myself, even though I'm a North London Golders Green born girl. I felt sisters and brothers with people who'd been born in Jenin. So I didn't feel cultural difference. I'm sure they are there, and I don't want to say we're all the same, but whatever there was enjoyed rather than a barrier.
So so you were able to appreciate the different ways in which people communicate with each other as well. I mean,
I think it comes back to my favourite subject, which is talk to the children. Talk to the children about this issue, because they live it in their schools. I mean, for example, in East London where I live, my son is exposed to about 15 different cultures every day he goes to school. And it would be lovely to take, if it were, this is my ideal vision, if there could be, it could be an integral part of the curriculum. Really, you know, if you're going to talk about really studying culture and religious differences, make it an integral part of the curriculum so that those kids who you're hanging around with, whose ancestral roots are from all over the place, can actually, because you kill two birds with one stone, they can actually tune in and feel, that's me they're talking about, and feel proud, and it becomes a normal part of discussion with everybody. And it gives an opportunity for them to actually make a proper organic link. And the schools can actually attract funding because it would be politically correct, you know, to bring one or two people, you know, a dancing troupe, something from a different part of the world to actually say a little bit about, you know, the common human story that you're referring to. And it wouldn't cost that much money. You know, I just think more creativity around this twinning idea is really, to me, something that would get me excited about it, because there must be a reason why it's not being advertised as much, you know?
Well, we're advertising it now. Recently, the town of Hay-on-Wye in Wales was twinned with Timbuktu in Mali, which many people still think is a fictional place. While Hay-on-Wye hosts a number of second-hand bookshops and a literary festival once a year, Timbuktu was once a centre of scholarship in the Muslim world and has a library of 140,000 Arabic texts. So what brought these two towns together? We're here at the Palaces of Westminster, next door to the Houses of Parliament, for a reception for the Mayor of Timbuktu, who's here to meet the Mayor of Hay-on-Wye. And Timbuktu history and has a lot to offer Hay-on-Wye and Britain as a whole.
We chose Hay-on-Wye for several historical reasons. Hay-on-Wye is having a festival. Hay-on-Wye is also specialized in a second book library. And Timbuktu is having also a heavy World Heritage Site and manuscripts, okay? And it's also a mythic city. For us, Hay-on-Wye is a mythic city, it's a mythical city for us. It's far, and we would like to see, to discover Hay-on-Wye and share with its population. This is very important for us. Yeah.
Oh well, Timbuktu and Hay will be a sister country, as twinning country. So there was some people from Hay who was come to Timbuktu to talk about this project. So the people from Hay invite us to come here and for the relation of our project, I mean, to confirm that Hay and Timbuktu are twinning and signed. It's a very big town, but very small place.
That's very nice.
And Timbuktu, yes, we are very rich in history and culture, but we would think about maybe to have some schools, some organization for the children and handicaps that we have there.
Do you find some of the cultural aspects that needs to be, people need to learn more about the cultural aspects?
Yes, we think that it's a opportunity, a good opportunity to let Hay people, local people know about Islam. We want to share with them on cultural matters. We want to prove them that Islam is tolerance. Islam means an open-minded person who is sharing with others. Islam means peace. Islam means also to be open to others and to accept others with its differences.
Twinning towns isn't just about building links between two towns, it's also about developing links between two civilizations. We can see in that clip actually just how well everybody got on together there. Viswa, I wanted to ask you as well. I mean, here we've got the situation with Hay-on-Wye and Timbuktu, and as the translator there said, the young man said, they're hoping again to improve their education facilities there. When I found out that Hayworth in England is twinned with Machu Picchu in Peru, and the people in Hayworth are saying that children need to learn English as they are wholly dependent on tourism. I was going to ask, do you think that sometimes twinning towns and setting up these links can actually absolve governments of their responsibilities? Because the drive for twinning is coming from people at a grassroots level, when actually, and they're trying to resolve some sort of issue that actually should be dealt with by government.
Well, I'm of the school of thought that change comes from the ground up anyway, and the governments will respond not to be embarrassed, to be honest, if a movement becomes strong enough and they're not seen to be supportive of it, especially if it's something as positive as cross-cultural education and building bridges. Governments will catch up, if you like. That's always the way I think it always has been or should be. So I don't see an exploitation angle to it, or I don't worry about it that much at the end of the day. And sure, if the children in Machu Picchu can learn English, great. Why not? Because then it opens a whole vista of communication across the globe, you know, which means that there will be less easy to exploit, as a matter of fact.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know, than if they couldn't speak English.
Well, we've just got a couple of minutes, so Miriam, just to wrap up, you've brought a T-shirt with you if you'd like to show us what this is. So I can hold it.
Could you hold it up?
Maybe we can get a camera.
That's one of the T-shirts.
Janine Tower Hamlets.
Yeah, our teams these are two people. It was our three-legged race down the cafes of Brick Lane. That was our last event, actually, and it was symbolic of the twinning. Yes. One person from Tower Hamlets and the other person was symbolic of the person from Jenin.
They look like it's the three-legged race.
race.
Oh, right.
And we got tremendous support from the cafes and restaurants down Brick Lane, who put on free, and everyone had to stop at each station and drink something or eat something, and then we had a celebration at the end.
So are these purchasable?
Oh, well, they are. We gave them free, actually, to our entrance, so please let me... I've only got one here. I would like to give it to, yes, at least one of you can have that. And I'd like to say, you know, what you said, it's bottom-up is so important. At Grassroots, people recognise all our differences are okay. In fact, they're great. So we get on, we relate, we move on. And what you said was exactly what I felt. The more we can build from the bottom, the more the people of Tower Hamlets, of Pendle, of East London show that we have solidarity with our sisters and brothers in the world.
And we
in
can
Africa,
transcend
in
politics.
We can transcend it.
And at the end of the day, all you've got to do is look around you. We're in a multicultural society already. So if you're looking for ideas on twinning and building bridges, they're there. The stimulation is there.
And let's hope the politicians respond.
OK, thanks very much. That's been a great programme. And you've been watching Nexus, the Religious and Cultural Dialogue programme, and we've been discussing twinning towns. It looks like this phenomenon is not going to die out, and there is still much we can learn from each other. So don't forget to watch Nexus on Saturdays at 14:05 GMT and Tuesdays at 14:05 GMT, and give us your views by emailing nexus@presstv.co.uk. In our next programme, we're going to be discussing conversion. Does converting to another religion imply that you're in need of psychiatric treatment? Only kidding. Have a nice day.